Cool. Yeah, that's pretty nice that you wrote books, and
Yeah,
that's
that
different.
was like a little career that I had, a side career I had going on for years. Um, and I thought it was, I tried to push it, and I even had a period when I was a full-time writer for a year. When it just seemed to be a good time because I got laid off from a job. And I thought, okay, this is a good time. I can push this and see if I can make it, you know, push my star a bit higher. Not that it was high. It was, um, but yeah, it didn't really work. And I needed to make some much more regular money. Even if I've been making a bit more money as an author, it's so irregular that when you've got young kids, or like I did, or just the situation I had financially at the time, I needed to just have a normal job that paid regularly. So I went back into it. And when I went back into work, I sort of trained doing something different. Um, it kind of took a space away in my brain, which was where I did the writing books. And I couldn't do it for a while, or I wasn't interested in doing it. So I left it for a while, and I went back to it a few years later. But that's how I got into songwriting, because I found that I didn't really want to write novels anymore. I wanted to just write distilled language poetry. And that's how I found my way back to trying to write songs again.
Dave, get down here. I heard them say, Dave, you better get down here.
I love that song, and I didn't know what the hell I was writing about when I was writing it. It was just, Dave, just write a song called... No, it's not like... I didn't get a message saying write a song called Dave. It's just that thing, that phrase, Dave, come down, get down here. And I've always loved the sort of comedy of the name Dave. It's sort of such an everyman name, isn't it, Dave? So I thought that's I like that for that reason, and I wrote the whole song, and the lines made some internal. They felt right without being completely logical, and it was only much later, maybe 4 weeks later, I realised what the song was about.
Dave, get down here. I heard them say.
So that can happen with songwriting. You can write the song and you don't know what it's about, but you know it's about something.
Did that mean you just kind of ad-libbed it, and then the words came out, and you kind of wrote them down and adjusted it that way, or?
I normally write them when I'm walking around, either or driving, going somewhere, or walking the dog. He wants me to walk in this dog. He occasionally barks outside. And with songs, you sometimes don't have to be really clear about how it ends. In fact, a lot of the time it helps if you're not really super clear about the ending. So that was fine. So that's what kept me going. And it was Dave, get down here. That was probably the line that gave me enough to think, okay, this is interesting.
So you have Dave is down here, and you have that in your hand. You start to have the melody, and then there's a certain way that you start singing that where you really, that sounds perfect, and then I guess the song takes off from there.
I blame them. No, I don't blame them.
I never think this is a great lyric, but the music isn't really, or the melody isn't very interesting. So I'll keep the lyric. I just reject the whole thing, because the whole thing has got to feel right.
Yeah. And with Dave, what you said, you found that the meaning like 4 weeks later. What was the meaning that kind of?
It's amazing, really. So my dad was Dave. My dad's David. He's dead now. That didn't strike me at all, because Dave's a common name. David is a common name, so I didn't know it was about him. And you're going to think this is weird. I found out a few weeks later, out of the blue, that I've got a biological half brother. So what it is my dad, when he was a young man, he had a young child and given up for adoption when he was a very young man. He was a teenager. And it was finding out about that, and I kind of knew a rumor or knew a little bit about it when I was young, that this has happened, but didn't really take it in as something real. I didn't know if it was a rumor or, and then when the reality of it was there in front of me, I realized and I found out, I asked some relatives, so I found out about the situation around this when it happened decades and decades ago, because it's an older biological sibling. So it's before I was born. I was thinking, this is about that. This is about my dad, when he was 17, 18 years old, and the trouble and the sort of, he must have felt he was in for this situation. So all that Dave Get Down here, and everyone's, you're at that age, 17, 18, where you're just being set up to go into the world and be an adult, but you suddenly done an irresponsible thing, or that's the way society perceived it at the time, and you've kind of messed everything up. And so that would just take away that confidence that you need to springboard yourself into life, and to think you can do anything. So I realized it was about that, really. And I didn't know that this was going to happen. I didn't know it was going to find out about my dad having another child.
I perfected the art of soul shifting using scientific methods. Anything worth doing should be done scientifically, and that includes the black arts. The bare bones theory behind it came into my hands via an ancient document found buried beneath a cellar. But theory is nothing unless you can put it to practice. Like any rational person, I was at first sceptical. These were the blatherings of a lunatic, surely. But something in the ebb and flow of ritual and theory rang true, and I read on. The words were mesmerizing, and before long, I was seeing the world as if through a distorted microscope, able to discern hitherto invisible yet impossible entities. I was confused and believed that I was teetering on the cusp of madness. I had to make a choice: destroy the book and return to the everyday world, or embrace the non-Euclidean perspective preached within the pages of the Scalanomicon. To make up my mind, I decided to put some of the ritual descriptions to the test. My first experiments were performed on caterpillars and snails. Being slow-moving animals, they were easy to perform the ritual on, and there was a plentiful supply of them. But it was difficult to judge the results. Although undoubtedly in possession of souls, it was near impossible to distinguish one snail from the next. Even to a master of the black arts, a snail with a strong soul does not seem much different from one with a weak soul. So I moved on to dogs, which had personalities discernible to humans and distinguishable souls. Many of the local dogs died during this time, but I ironed out nearly all of the technical problems. After dogs, I moved to human subjects. Circumstances around me had changed, and there was no time to waste with more experimentation, so I went straight in where it mattered: high denomination souls. At the time, I had access to many of this type: high achieving humans whose field of endeavour was mainly music and entertainment. By definition, this type of individual is sophisticated and difficult to trick into submitting to a ritual that would seem deeply strange to them. They were also very high profile and therefore not so easy to take by force, which is what led me to my secondary line of research: how to negotiate, on a human subject's behalf, diabolical favours. By now my fate was decided. I was a warlock.
It came afterwards. There's no way I could know. So what I'm kind of technically saying is that this was like some kind of weird premonition. I don't know, but that was the sense it made for me. And that is very unusual. I've never had anything like that before, but that's why I thought it's worth talking about this song from a songwriting point of view.
That's pretty powerful, though. I got to say that there's a power that comes out of talking about the difference between songwriting and writing a novel or something. This stream of thought that comes out of your brain is connected to something, and you can articulate problems you're having in your life or things you are important to you in your life without even realizing it. If you just start, saying words, it's random words you think, but you're actually saying something.
Yeah, because it's art, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you're not sitting there in the Brill building in the 60s or something, and someone's giving you a order to write a song about I don't know, a dead boyfriend or something for a girl group to sing,
That'd be cool.
that come from you. And for me, it's 100%. It's got to come from inside. And like I said before, sometimes you don't know what it is inside that you're dredging up from that murky, opaque lake. But there's something there, so just keep pulling. Writing a song is reeling it in.
Take off your shoe. You won't listen to the words I got for you, babe. Coming home.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about Cider with Rosie.
I've got this very distant relative from the past who's dead now. It's a really distant relative. But I did meet him once at a family barbecue, and apparently there's a photo of me sitting on his knee when I was about 3 years old, who was quite a well-known writer in Britain in the middle of the 20th century. And he wrote a famous book called Cider with Rosie, that used to be, it's really about sexual awakening. It's about growing a lad growing up in the Cotswold rural area in England, in a rural area, and not really knowing much, and finding his own way into the world, and obviously via Rosie. So I wanted to write a song about that, because I thought maybe just having, even if I only met him once or twice when I was little, that's knowing that someone who writes something and does it well and is respected for it, it's a real person, so that they were there in my life briefly. So I'm going to write a tribute song to them. But again, it's writing to order. I can't do it, or I don't like doing it. And when I started writing Cider with Rosie, it was something completely different. There was the plot was completely different. It's a bloke who can't keep his woman at home, and so he starts growing apple trees for her. And it sounds crazy, but that's what it is.
That's cool.
He makes some cider. He's trying to say, look, Rosie, I'm making this lovely cider here. Come and join me.
I found a press out there to the west. Well, someone just left it. Summer come, I guess you will be gone.
There are other levels. There are different levels to every song you write, but that's the sort of surface level plot. And I really like that because, I've got a couple of apple trees outside, and I've tried to make cider once or twice. I made it really strong, but it wasn't really that drinkable.
Are you a connoisseur of cider too?
Yeah, I love cider, and it is an English thing. It's an ancient English thing, because I live in a county where there's loads of in my part of England, Worcestershire, Herefordshire, Gloucestershire, loads of apples, loads of cider making, and it's a certain type of cider, the dry cider. So it's always been around. So I guess it's a tribute to that. But yeah, it's a big thing in Britain specifically, because when apparently when the Romans ruled Britain back in the day, cider, when they discovered the local drink that the locals were drinking, because you ferment whatever you can, can't you? If you live in the sticks, you just, how can we get drunk? What is there around us?
Yeah.
Yeah, that we can do, and it was apples. And when the Romans discovered it, they treated it as like a fine wine. They had a very refined version of it, and it was a fine wine to them. But it's gone back. When they left, the Romans, they left us with our cider making culture a bit more advanced, and so it's always been a thing. You go into any bar, you're going to get, you get lager, you get some sort of ale or bitter, and you get cider.
Growing a moustache was one of the best things I ever did. Some of the older lads in the home had them, and you could see the effect it had on them and everyone else. It was like they were putting on the mask of a grown-up, hiding the gormless young face behind it, and reaping the rewards of respect, confidence, and more of a chance with girls. I didn't have a gormless face, but I had a good reason to cover my top lip. I started as soon as I could, putting baby bio on my bum fluff and combing the little hairs to make them feel wanted. None of that worked, and I shaved it all off in a rage, albeit a very calm and controlled rage, taking care not to slice myself. Within a couple of days, it was growing back and showing signs of taking itself seriously. Gone were the soft, wispy hairs, replaced by thick, hard ones of a rich brown hue. It was like they'd gone down the gym overnight and toughened up. Within a couple of weeks, I had a tash, a proper one, like Magnum PI. And the world saw me differently. Back in the here and now, I was smoothing down the hairs of that very same tash as I strolled up Commercial Road, whistling a merry tune. I couldn't put my finger on what the tune was or who it was by, although I assumed it was a proper song sung by a famous person. It had to be, because it really was a nice tune. And then I started wondering if it was a gift. Sometimes you get that, a fully formed song sent down to you by your muse. It sounds familiar, and you know all of it as soon as the first bars hit your inner ear. But it's new. It's never been heard before by anyone but you, and it's all yours. A gift. Then I caught sight of my reflection in the window of a charity shop, and I realised it was Golden Years by David fucking Bowie.
Am I saying the record? Yeah, just the reckoning.
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 Yeah. The title is hot. That's open quotes. Just the reckoning.
Just the reckoning.
If you look at the lyrics, they're kind of grabbed out of the air. It seems. As to start with, I picked a new background, like that could be computer. Need to relax around people who are successful. So this is kind of a thought. If you're in the world at any moment and you're telepathic, and you can sort of grab the thoughts that are flying around, the private thoughts people are having. That's what the lyrics are made up of. And I literally just didn't think that as I was doing it, but looking at them now, that's what they are. I'm grabbing everyone's thoughts, the little things that they worry about that they think are huge, which is me attempting to interpret my own song, and maybe I'm wrong, but so that's what it is. But when you get to the chorus, all is won and all is lost along a superhighway. When Frank Sinatra sings, it will be my way. Don't get distracted by this thing. It's just the reckoning. So it's like, sometimes the world seems like it's ending, you know, especially lately. It seems like, what the hell is going on with those two biggest countries in the world, that, you know, with all the superpowers, and you think it's going to end, you know, the world is going to end at some point, and people actually buy into that, but then you walk out your house, or then you can just switch it off, you know. It's like, yeah, the world might be ending, but I need to get my hair cut later on.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have enough hair to cut, but I need to. There's a new song by my my favourite artist. I need to get that later on. So the stuff that we live by isn't those big things. It's the minutiae of our lives. That's what makes us human.
Yeah.
So don't worry about the world ending. Worry about the minutiae, because that's you. And again, that's my interpretation of it, because it's not a specific song.
So when Frank Sinatra sings, and then I'll let you.
Yeah, that's kind of an allusion to the end, I guess. I mean, normally the phrase would be when the fat lady sings.
Yeah.
And I've just changed it literally on the fly to Frank Sinatra singing, because well, my way is about, you reach the end and you did it your way. So just do it your way. Do it your way, which is worrying about whatever it is important to you in your life. Another way of saying that is I just like the turn of phrase and it fit the melody.
Yeah, I do that a lot too. You need to grab your dog. I'll let you do your thing here. Charlie,
It's okay, yeah.
thanks for doing 3 Songs Podcast with RoomRock 3 Songs Podcast. That was really, really nice to talk to you.
Thank you so much. It's been an honour being on the 3 Songs Podcast. I really like being on RoomRock before and doing my performances, and this has been so much fun, just talking about songs with you.
Yeah, it's been great. So hopefully you can come on RoomRock again whenever you feel like doing it. Thanks again, and say hello to your dog for me. I can take my dog out too.
Let's go and take our dogs out.
Yeah,
cheers.
When Frank Sinatra sings, it will be my way. Don't get distracted by this thing. It's just the reckoning.